Welcome everyone to Saturday Night Hype, and we have got a great matchup for you today. Jimmy Korderas versus Stone Cold Steve Austin. I am the colonist. Stone Cold Steve Austin Day, March 16th. Welcome everybody. This is going to be a big time matchup. Now, the last time we saw Jimmy Korderas, he went one-on-one with Chrono at the WrestleBration pre-show, and he said it was going to be his one and only match, and then he was going back to officiating, but then he caught the wrestling bug. Then he got the bug and said, you know, maybe I want to write a little bit more. And then he started making bald jokes at Stone Cold Steve Austin. And Stone Cold, he wasn't really acknowledging it a whole lot, but then he said something about how he was the best bald man in pro wrestling history, and Austin said, all right, fine, you want to get your ass kicked? I will open up a can of whoop ass on Jimmy Korderas. So therefore, Steve Austin has graciously agreed to come in and face CIW referee Jimmy Korderas in a one-on-one matchup on this special day, as we are just 3 weeks away from the Rebels and Redcoats Tag Team Tournament debut on April the 3rd. Fill out a bracket. You could win a CIW certified t-shirt today. Here comes Austin. And what an ovation Steve Austin to this day always gets. And he certainly does turn on the heat here on Stone Cold Steve Austin Day. Last time we saw Steve in CIW, I believe, was a one-on-one match with Mr. Clean, which was a first blood match that Stone Cold Steve Austin ended up the winner of. But not that Mr. Clean didn't put up a hell of a fight, but Stone Cold this time just trying to kick some ass, put the boots up the ass of Jimmy Korderas, and unfortunately Stone Cold Steve Austin is not one of my impressions, so I'm not going to do any sort of recreation of any sort. But that doesn't mean that this isn't going to be an intense matchup and that Jimmy Korderas isn't ready for this, because could you imagine what it would do for the wrestling career of Jimmy Korderas if he is able to beat the Texas Rattlesnake here tonight on Steve Austin Day? And that is what is on the table here for this Saturday Night Hype matchup. And of course, next week we have the Waluigi versus Batman match. If Waluigi wins it, then Team Mischief gets another shot at the CIW Tag Team Championships. Here we go. And of course, the main event of Day 2 of Massacre, set to take place on May the 11th, as Jimmy Korderas immediately takes a moment just to wonder if, am I making the right decision here? Should I really go in against Stone Cold Steve Austin? But right now, a nice backbreaker to start out, but almost second-guessed himself like Pat McAfee at the Royal Rumble. But it is going to take a lot of persistence for Jimmy Korderas to fell a man like Stone Cold. Even though he's 57 years old as Austin, but we saw when he's 58, I guess now, we've seen what he was able to do even in his elderly years when he went one-on-one with Kevin Owens, but a big right hand from Jimmy Korderas and leaving the ring. And this is probably smart. You got to keep Austin guessing when it comes to the kind of shots and strikes you get. I'd have to imagine that a longer matchup benefits Jimmy a little bit more than it does Stone Cold, but these two, of course, are both big strikers, but it is going to be Steve Austin, I think, who has got the more efficient punches and kicks. But that doesn't mean that Jimmy isn't going to go down swinging. And it's hard to say whether he's going to be able to. Of course, this is the battle of the stunners. Of course, the Stone Cold Stunner from Austin, the 3-count stunner from Korderas. And oh, what a knife-edge chop there from Jimmy. And right now it has been tit for tat when it comes to the strikes here in the early going. And the major tournament, of course, we have so many major tag team talents coming up for the Rebels and Redcoats tournament. Of course, the world title, #1 contenders match in 2 weeks. Nice sweeping DDT as Freddy Krueger takes on Sub-Zero. The winner facing Symbiote Spider-Man in the main event of Day 3 of Massacre. And right now, Jimmy Korderas, who has stayed persistently on top of Austin as much as he can when he gets the advantage. But just like that, Austin, with a couple of punches to the back, has got Jimmy laying. And referee Luke Goss doing everything he can to keep the order here, but it's going to be difficult. And, you know, how do you officiate an official? You know, it puts kind of Luke Goss in a very awkward position, because if there's anyone who knows the rules better than maybe Luke Goss, it's Jimmy Korderas. A nice over-the-top suplex there. And you can take a drink or a scoop of ice cream if you feel so inclined. As Jimmy now working on the leg, and this might be the smart move from Jimmy Korderas, working on those notoriously bad knees and the even more notoriously bad neck of Stone Cold in that STF, and that might be the way to wear the Texas Rattlesnake down. But he's got to stay on him. He's got to stay very persistent. And now, and now just punches, vicious punches from Stone Cold Steve Austin. On to Jimmy Korderas here on Steve Austin Day. Hope you all have had a great time. You've read, talk about your Psalms, talk about your John 3:16. Austin 3:16 says he's trying to whip Jimmy's ass, but so far it has been quite back and forth. And you have to imagine whoever gets the stunner first might be the one to come out on top here. And now just another headlock, another big headlock from Jimmy Korderas. And at least he knows the spots. Oh, what a clothesline. At least he knows the spots that Austin has been weak in the past, and he is definitely exploiting that to his advantage here in this matchup. Which one of these two competitors will come out of this match with the W here on Stone Cold Steve Austin Day, March the 16th? 2 more weeks of Saturday Night Hype, and then the tournament begins, and you still have plenty of time to fill out a bracket, but you have to do it. And vaulting over the top rope. Wait a minute. Austin on the top rope. Elbow drop from the top to the outside to Jimmy Korderas, right in the solar plexus. And Jimmy is not looking good now, and an STF of Austin's own. And that elbow drop might have taken a lot out of Jimmy. And, you know, that's rather unorthodox for Steve Austin to go up to the top rope all the way to the outside and hit an elbow drop. And it really kind of goes to show that Austin is showing a little bit of respect, a little cautious respect for Jimmy Korderas. Oh, wait a second. Referee's count is up to 8 here. And is he going to be able to, is Jimmy going to be able to get back into the ring? Referee's count up to 9. Jimmy's got to get back in the ring, otherwise Austin's the winner. And just barely, Korderas gets back into the ring. But I mean just barely. And now Korderas trying to get a little momentum himself. Another over-the-top suplex. Take a drink or a scoop of ice cream. But Jimmy's gut, I mean, that elbow drop was a lot of weight onto the gut. And that was a hot 10 feet in the air into the guts of Jimmy Korderas. And now just raining punches is Austin, who is trying to continue to establish his success on this day. Fortify his name. Not a lot Austin really has on the line here, but the fact that these two had a bit of a Twitter bout. Oh, wait a second. Stunner! Stunner! Austin hit the stunner! And Jimmy is rocked all the way to the corner of the ring. That has got to be it. Austin with the cover. Korderas is down. Luke count 1, 2, 3. And Stone Cold Steve Austin pulls out the W on his day. I see clearly that Stone Cold made a point. Although he had to go further than he typically does. You can't deny it. He went further than he typically does. The big top rope, elbow drop, high risk, high reward. Does it for one of the greatest wrestlers of all time. But folks, we are still on the hype train towards the Rebels in Redcoats tournament. Don't forget to fill out a bracket. Thank you all for coming to Saturday Night Hype, and we will see you in 1 week's time. Waluigi versus Batman. Don't miss it. We'll see you then. Take care, everybody.